We have with us in the studio today Barrister Evans Ufeli from the Chambers of Evans Ufeli. Barrister Ufeli is a constitutional lawyer and a rights activist. Barrister, welcome to SaharaTV.
Thank you very much.
In Nigeria today, the trending issue seems to be about rape accusations and sexual assaults all over the places. But we'd like you to enlighten our viewers. Legally speaking, what could be referred to as rape?
Well, rape can be legally defined as an action where someone have a carnal knowledge of another person without her consent. Where a man, for example, decide to have a carnal knowledge of a woman without her consent, that is, and sometimes with her consent, but when such consent is procured by fraud, duress, intimidation, and the rest of it. So it's of two folds. The first is when the carnal knowledge was procured without her consent. The second part of it is even when it is procured with her consent, such consent, once it is procured by duress, fraud, intimidation, and the host of other instances of violence, it is regarded as rape. It is also rape when the victim or complainant is underage. So whatever consent that is procured at that level cannot be regarded as consent because she's underage and cannot give consent. Let me talk about the two major legislations on this issue. There are many legislations. We have the Criminal Code in section 357 of the Criminal Code talks about it. The Penal Code also talks about the issue of rape. Then the Violence Against Persons Prevention Act 2015 also talk about. In fact, that law have expanded the scope of rape to also mean that where you use any other object, okay, through the mouth, through the ear, through any other part of the body to have penetration.
So it doesn't have to be the carnal knowledge of penetration.
No, carnal knowledge used to be the first form of rape in Nigeria before the Violence Against Persons Prevention Act was enacted in 2015. Before now, you can only have rape against a woman. Do you understand? There can only be rape against a woman, okay? Because it is said that the man does not procure the body component for which he can be raped before now. But by virtue of the Violence Against Persons Prevention Act, the scope of rape has been expanded. You understand? It can also be committed against a man and then against a woman. But the bottom line is that once there is carnal knowledge, once there is penetration, okay, of the vagina without consent, and where such consent exists, but it is procured by fraud, by intimidation, by duress, and all that, the host of violence is still regarded as rape.
You mentioned 3 acts which protect whoever has been raped. So whenever this person who has been raped made use of this or employed this act to file a legal case against the rapist, what are the possible outcome of this act?
Well, rape is a criminal offense, okay? So where the offense of rape is committed or there's an allegation that such offense has been committed, okay? What is required is that the victim or the complainant will need to do a petition to the police, okay? Because it is the state that will prosecute, not the individual or the victim or the complainant. It is the state. Because it's a criminal offense, the state will prosecute. So the first step is to have a proper petition before the police force, okay? Then the police will make the necessary arrests and do the necessary investigation, and then prosecution will commence. So that is the procedure. Investigation, arrest, prosecution, sentencing or conviction or whatsoever, that is a procedure. It is not the individual that will go and sue. It's not a civil case, it's a criminal case. The state will sue on behalf of the complainant or the victim.
So are you saying the police cannot unilaterally, based on what people are saying in this day of social media, that an accusation is on social media, that the police cannot unilaterally investigate, to take up this case and investigate?
The police can do that. The police can do that unilaterally. It is their function. What's the function of the police? To protect lives and properties. Okay? If somebody has been raped, it means that such person's life has been put under risk. Okay? So it is a duty of the police. Okay? I'm talking about the responsibility, okay, of the victim or the complainant. It is not enough to be on the social media with facts of what transpired. Steps must be taken. If the allegation, you think the allegation is weighty enough, you believe the allegation is true, steps must be taken beyond the social media. Because if the police does not act, it then means the victim must initiate it through the police to act. Okay? Then the responsibility is on the states, through the police force, to prosecute the alleged, rapists. And then we should also know that once there's an allegation, under the criminal law, under the laws of Nigeria, an accused person is presumed innocent until the contrary is proven. It's part of the constitutional safeguards, okay, you have in section 35, 36 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. So the allegation must be followed by this kind of mentality that the accused person can only be found guilty, can only be tried by the court of law through a process of criminal prosecution, okay, that will look into the details of the matter and the evidence before the court. And then the court will reach a conclusion whether or not the rape has occurred.
Looking at the length of time before a victim of rape can come out to make the accusation or to file a petition, is there any constitutional length of time that restricts the petition filing to a particular number of time? What I'm saying is that after you rape in a day, is there any length of time before you can come out?
No, I know what you're saying. Time does not run against the state in criminal prosecution, any crime whatsoever. If you commit a crime 100 years ago, they can still bring a charge today. Do you understand? So crime does not run against the state. Just like the case of the Kenyan lawyer, I don't know whether you know of the case, that went to the International Criminal Court to sue the Italian government for putting Jesus Christ to death. You understand? That happened over 2,000 years ago. But he brought the case before the court, even though the case was struck out. But it tells you time does not run against, the state when there is a presumption or an allegation of the offense of a crime and all that. Time does not run against the state.
So on a final note, I would like to know if a victim of rape is making an allegation or accusation against somebody, and at the end of the day, it turns out that the suspected victim is innocent of the accusation. Is there any constitutional or legal reparation for?
Yes. In criminal prosecution, whenever a criminal prosecution terminates in favor of the defendant or the accused, okay, he can bring an action for malicious prosecution. So
what happens to the social embarrassment?
Yes, in that case of malicious prosecution, he can ask for damages. Okay? He can also bring a civil case of defamation. Even though malicious prosecution is defamation, he can bring a case of defamation. And then he will ask for reliefs, which may be public apology, to be published in newspapers and all that, which will be sums of money as damages. And then it could be many things, restitution and all that. There are a lot of remedies open to the accused person or the defendant once a criminal case terminates in the defendant's favor. You understand? So if it turns out that it's false, then a complainant will have to face the music. It is going to be between him and then the defendant. So both words they will have to look into the issues, and then the court will be involved in looking at what possibly could be adequate damage in the circumstance, so as to resuscitate or redeem the hardship and character assassination that the defendant must have suffered in the course of his trial on allegation.
All right, thank you very much, Barrister Evans Ufeli. We're glad to have you in the studio with us.